Let's talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville, shall we? Welcome, timekeepers. For those of you who are new here, welcome. To all my new subscribers, thank you for joining me on my journey. Tonight, I want to get into Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 9, Episode 4. I think it's called Steering into Scandal. Okay. So the first scene, I jotted down a few notes so I could keep track of the scenes. I normally don't do that. I try to go by the screenshots that I get, but I wanted to, my memory is gone. I'm getting older and my memory ain't what it used to be. Okay. So I had to jot down some notes. So it starts off with Martell and Destiny. I guess they're meeting at the park, right? And they talk about quite a few things. And I guess they're looking to catch up. Martell makes it seem like Destiny called him to see what he was doing and asked him to come out. He was like thankful for her calling him because he didn't have nothing to do. He was glad that she reached out to him so he could get out a little bit. So he asked her how is she doing and everything, and she talked about how she's been, helping her dad out because I think he may have cancer, or maybe they think that he has cancer. I don't know. He has to get some tests done. She said they have to get some MRIs done, and she's thinking about going the holistic route with him. So she talks about that. She just touches on it or whatever. And she says, only thing, he could get through this if he just listened. She said, he's like you are, hard-headed, right? So then she talks about her business for a minute and says, she, of course, they've been 100% e-commerce ever since she had to shut down her, brick and mortar store, Madani Beauty, I think it is. And she talks about how, they're doing pretty well. And Martell said, yeah, thank you. I got my candles and I love candles and this, that, and the other and whatever. She thanked him for supporting. So I guess he bought some merch from her. And so then he goes right into it and he goes, so how was the girls' trip? With Melody being there, with you and her, not really being or seeing eye to eye these days. So Destiny basically says that, they talked about how Melody, I guess, thought that she wasn't really there for her, didn't have her back. And she says she tried to tell her that, she did have her back until she found out that she was trying to teach his mistress how to respectfully cheat. I think I'm paraphrasing. I'm not really sure how the conversation started out. I think she said something about how Melody didn't consider anybody being her friend if they were hanging around the mistress. I think that's how she brought it up or whatever. And then so Destiny went into, that she was a true friend to her and she did let Martell know when he was wrong. But her thing was, I'm not fighting your battle if you're going to be sitting on the phone with her talking about, let me know when he gets over there and blah, 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 blah. But I don't know if I would see that as her trying to get her to respectfully cheat. I think she knew that her man wasn't going to stop going over there. So she called herself not really befriending her, but using her to get information so she could snag his butt. I think it's a difference. And I think Destiny knew that. You know what I mean? I don't know. But so and Martell, I don't know, he just comes across so phony. He's like, yeah, I know. And that's how he was kind of like responding to her, like, yeah, can you believe that? Like, how could she? I don't know how he was responding, but it sounded phony to me. So then they brought up how the situation with him and Trish came up, and how Trish had kind of like just admitted on the trip that, yeah, she did go over there. And Martell made a comment. He was like, yeah, Trish kind of made it awkward. He said, when they met at Stormy's house, he said, if she had just played it the way I was playing it, nobody would have any questions. But she made it awkward. And I remember that because she was upset that Martell did not remember her or acted like he didn't remember her. So if it wasn't nothing going on and it was nothing memorable about that night, yeah, y'all just sat and chilled and watched movies or whatever, why would you be upset about somebody or someone like Martell if nothing was going on that he didn't recognize you or didn't remember you? So it does leave a lot of questions. And I'm not saying anything happened because clearly I wasn't there. I don't know. But I'm inclined to think that it did. My opinion. I'm entitled to it. So the next, let me see. Oh, so no, they were still talking, and so I think he brought up the fact that Marcel and them were, Marcel and Maurice and all them were, getting on him around Ken and bringing up the fact that, talking about Trish and Marceau, he said, kept pursuing, like, did something happen? Did anything go on? And Destiny's like, in front of Ken? And he's like, yeah. But he said Ken was being a man. He was like, well, I don't know. I don't care. That was before me. He could do about it. But he said the only thing he didn't like is that Trish did not tell him about Martell. He didn't like that. And I feel like if you're not telling something, it's because you're hiding something. But Martell said, well, it wasn't nothing to tell. And I guess you could look at it like that too, if it wasn't anything to tell. And I'm not trying to make it mean anything either, but I'm just saying, if there's smoke, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. So anyway. So then he was like, I just can't understand how Marceau, talking about something he don't have no clue about and I think he called him a hypocrite. And he was basically saying how that he's a worse cheater than him. 1,000 times worse or 10,000 times worse than him. I don't really care about Marceau. I think everybody knows that Marceau probably is what it is. It is what it is. But I feel like Marceau and Maurice, because they were all out there, I feel like pretty much doing the same thing. Him, Maurice, Martell, and Marceau. Because Martell got caught, they diverted the spotlight to Martell and didn't want the spotlight on them. Men will do that. Men will do that. And I know for a fact because I have a family member, okay? And her man, now husband, but her man before, I don't think they were married then, hung around these guys, and they were all out there just having fun. Was what people do when they're single, right? Because even though he had a girlfriend, you're still not married, so you know what I mean. They do what they do, right? I guess respectfully, they respectfully cheat. I don't know. Anyway, men tend to divert the spotlight onto other men if they're out there doing stuff, and he had a tendency, right, to always talk about what somebody else was doing. Well, I'm thinking to myself, well, if they was out there doing this and you was out there with them, what were you doing? Watching? Like, what do you? So I feel like men tend to do that. And in this case with Martell, Marceau, and Maurice, like I said, they all went to Atlanta. We all saw the picture. Um, Martell's mistress called it, told on them, said they all had linebackers, and they were all out there doing the same thing. It is what it is. And so he was like, he just wished that Marcel would be quiet. Just don't say nothing, regardless of what you think you might know, whatever. But with you out there doing the same thing or worse than me, you shouldn't say nothing. And I still think that Martell is upset that he got caught and they didn't. But they had made a pact. And he made the pact with them that he would never speak on whatever they were doing. So it is what it is. So the next segment was Nell and Mel. And Nell was feeling some way about how things went on the trip. And she wanted to come over to Melody's house and talk about it. And I can't believe she brought up the room thing again. That she didn't have a name tag on her room, even though she had her own room and it was a nice room. She still brought it up. And her thing was, Sunny had her own room, and I think I'm closer to you than Sunny. Miss Nell, what are you talking about? You had your own room. The person that set the things up just forgot your name tag. But obviously, the room was available for you because that was supposed to be your room. She didn't give it to Kimmy. She didn't give it to Tisha. Their room was their room. She had already picked out whose room was what. They forgot your name tag. And I can't believe she brought that up again. Like, really, Miss Nell? Anyway, so then she said, well, I thought I meant more to you. Or something to that effect. And Melly said, yeah, I thought the same thing when I saw some interview where Nell was talking about how both Martell and Melody were hard-headed and stubborn and that they were draining. Or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. And Melody didn't take too kindly to her saying that because her thing was, I don't think I ever caused you any stress or whatever. I think y'all spent more time with Martell than y'all did with me. Well, I don't even think that even matters, Mel. I think what she was saying is that she did mentor you. You were there because they even, filmed it one particular time, but you were there. I mean, she's talked to you. Maybe you didn't feel like, she wasn't giving you anything more than what maybe your mom gave you or your psychiatrist gave you or psychologist or whatever gave you, but she was there and offered her advice. So I thought that was mean of Mel to a degree because I really felt like Miss Nell's heart was in the right place. And as well as Mr. Chris. So I think they're Martell's friends, of course, but I thought that was mean. I thought that was kind of mean. I think Melody's been kind of mean through this episode, and I'm going to address those instances that I feel where she's kind of been a little cold. But anyway, we'll go on from there. The next segment was Kimmy and Maurice. Well, they start off with Maurice showing that he's got a DUI, and they start off with Kimmy and Kimmy and Maurice in their confessionals talking about the whole ordeal. And then they film at their house, and Kimmy and Maurice are in the kitchen, and you could tell it's kind of awkward. Kimmy's trying to save face because she's probably pissed, embarrassing her. But she carried it well. She wanted to be, I don't know, light, I guess. But, I think Kimmy basically first started off, she said, her being a nurse and by, she not knowing where her husband was, first thing she thought of was the hospital. And, they're talking, and he was like letting her know that was like the hardest thing that he had to do was call her, say that he was, I guess locked up. And she said, "Well, I really didn't know where you were." She said, "I went down my own timeline because I figured by this time you'd be in bed." And she said, "I thought maybe for real that you went to work. So I went by the job and you weren't there." So I'm thinking to myself, hmm, y'all were just out partying the night before. I remember the social media vids that hit the net, right? And what he had on at Black was the same thing he had on when he got locked up. So, Kimmy, don't go there. Okay. And we know that he was drinking and he was knocking him down. You know that. I have him not, okay, going to work after that. So, good one, Kimmy. But I'm not buying that's the way you thought that he was. You went looking for him, and it wasn't at his job. Maybe you thought, because I think they used to use the building for freak offs, right? That's the new word. I think they used to use the building for freak offs. So maybe that's why she went to the job, but it wasn't because you thought that he was working. Nuh-uh, Miss Kimmy, don't even try that. Um, he basically said that, she it wasn't really anything that he thought that she could help him with. I think he feels like he can work this out by himself. He said he's gonna leave it up to the courts and, be done with it. But I guess he's not too concerned. Maybe his first offense. He's never been in trouble with the law before. So he says. So it is what it is. But Kimmy came in the kitchen and she said, "Oh, you still don't feel good?" "I'm sorry." "What?" I remember, and I'm going to tell you this is I don't mean to run off into a tangent, but I was going through something in my relationship at one time, and I'll never forget that my significant other came home. He was drunk as I don't know what. I mean, all over the toilet bowl, doing the porcelain Watusi, right? And I loved it. I did not care about how he felt. I was like, "Oh, wow. He was like, "I don't want to drink no more." "I know you don't." I loved it. I didn't care. I wanted him to feel miserable because I wasn't feeling him like that anymore. Not like that, like I wanted to break up with him, but I was pissed with him and we were not in the best place at that particular time. So when he came home feeling some way, I was like, So when she said that to Maurice, I was like, yeah, right. She don't care nothing about him still being sick. Cause you notice how he looked up. Go back and look at that part. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he looks up like, "Oh, she's not mad anymore." She mad. She mad, but she not giving us that on the camera. So there's that. So the next segment was Trish and Ken. And they're talking about how they've only been in this house for about 6 months. And their garage is being used as storage. So they were in there trying to, clean it up, I guess, or straighten it up or whatever they were trying to do. I don't know. In the meantime, while they were straightening up, they talk about, Maurice's DUI. And her thing is, we just left them at the party. She solidified that they were at a party before. We were just with them. Not Kimmy saying, "Oh, I thought you went to work." Girl, get out of here. You know he wasn't at work. Anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. I went back to that. I digress. So they talk about, the DUI. She said she was going to call Kimmy. She said, but it just felt weird. So she didn't. And Kim's like, yeah, I understand. I'm really not trying to get in nobody's business or whatever, but that was kind of messed up. Maurice, of all people, the lawyer of the group, gets a DUI and gets locked up in jail. They talk about that. Then they talk about their son graduated. And this I thought was real shady, but I get it. But Trisha was talking about how they invited Marquez to the graduation, for his son's graduation. And I guess he didn't have any funds to get up there. So they gave him gas money. Like, did they really need to tell that? I thought that was mad. I thought that was mad disrespectful. That's still that boy's father. And y'all didn't have to say that. That's I don't like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Granted, if you think he's a deadbeat and a bum or whatever, that's great, but don't do that on national TV. You could have said it to him. You could have said it to your little group of friends. You could even said it to the cast without being on camera, but we did need not to know. Nationwide did not need to know that you had to give that man gas money to come see his son graduate. That was cold. I didn't like that. So then they talk about, the divorce papers and how, they need to get on board with that. And she says she was asking him, like, when we going to do this? We got to get this together. And his thing was, I'll come up next weekend. And he never came up. So she's making it seem like it's him that's not trying to be divorced. But I think it's both of them because she could have been divorced. I don't know how long they've been split. All she got to do is file. If he don't respond, it's automatic. It's been so many years. Get out of here. She don't need no signature from him. Ain't like they got property or anything like that. Girl, get out of here. She don't want the divorce either. I don't think she wants to marry Ken. I think she likes the situation the way it is. So there's that. So then Nell and Chris, they're going to a dance studio because I guess they want to learn some cha-cha-chas and the foxtrot and ballroom dancing or whatever they're trying to learn, right? Because they're going to be renewing their vows. So when they want to cut a rug, they can get up there and show off their moves. And that was cool. So they introduced the fact that they're going to be renewing their vows. And during the process of them being at this dance studio, Nell pulls Chris aside and she talks about how she went to visit Melody and how Melody expressed to her that she didn't like what she said in an interview. However, it upset her. And she said it didn't really register till after she left about how Melody didn't think that she had been a mentor to her through her ordeal with being married to Martell. Because she says she sat up there and said, I got my therapist, I got my mama, and I got God, as if she wasn't ranked on that list as far as someone that mentored her. And she said, and I left my mama, who was dying, at night to come over there and talk to them. And she said she was hurt. It didn't hit her till she left, but she was hurt. So. And I get that. And like I said, I really feel like Mel and Chris did what they could. I mean, they were going to do what they want to do anyway, but I think they were more so Martell's friends. And I think that's what Mel was getting at. Like, you all was talking to him because of what he did. So I don't know. Maybe she didn't look at that as talking to her too. So I don't know. And then they also brought up Marcel and Maurice's DUI. As well. And Chris said, I didn't want to bring it up to you. She said, because I know how you are with black men going to jail. And her thing was, being a mother of two black boys or African-American men, I don't, I feel some way about black men going to jail for crimes, of course, that they didn't commit, of course, right? Or if they're innocent. But she said, if you have done the crime, then you got to pay the consequences. That's not what she's saying. So I agree. The next segment is then Mel and Shanita. And Mel has invited, I guess, Shanita to help her with this community dinner that 7th Avenue is throwing, I guess, for the community. And she has it all, decorated up with balloons. And They're giving away dinners like baked spaghetti and regular spaghetti, and that's her giving back to the community. So while she was there, she was also talking about how she didn't invite some of the friends, I guess, that were on the trip or whatever, because she said she doesn't really want to forge friendships with them. Especially she said, I really don't want. She said, and after I think she said something to the fact. Now I'm paraphrasing because I don't really know exactly how this went about, but she said something about after Maurice got locked up for DUI. She said she didn't call Kimmy or whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, why wouldn't you call Kimmy? I thought her and Kimmy were in a good place. Not that they were besties, but I also thought they were in a good place. Like, why wouldn't you call Kimmy? Because I think I would have called Kimmy just to be nosy. You know what I mean? Concerned, but nosy, But anyway, maybe she's not concerned. But she said, but then she went on to say in further conversation that the whole premise of the show it was really to talk about Black excellence. And she said cast members on there have done nothing but disappoint. She said, we keep getting mugshot after mugshot after mugshot after mugshot. And she said, frankly, I'm tired of it. So I don't know how I saw that piece right there. I don't know. Melody is what can I say about Melody? She again was being kind of cold. And I don't know what it is. And maybe she's tired of the show. Maybe she just needs to be more in the background. Maybe she just needs to direct. Like, you know how Sonny came from behind the camera to being in front because she no longer wants to be behind. I think Mel needs to step back and be behind the camera. I mean, she still can get her EP credit, right? And maybe not be on the show anymore. She doesn't like them. She really doesn't. And then she could, if they bring on a new couple, because I don't know, she's fell out with everybody on the cast pretty much. Because she said she wasn't calling Kimmy. She doesn't really care for Tisha. She's mad with Nell. I mean, she tolerates it, but she's not really feeling Nell. Trisha, she calls a liar. Stormy's gone. Who's left? She need to go behind the scenes and just be, this is my show. Okay. And I'm going to be a director this season. That's what I think. But who am I? Y'all, tell me what you think about this episode. I rate this episode maybe a B+. It was okay. It kept it rolling. Kept it moving. I'm looking forward to next week, though, when Marceau gets in it with Martell and they start telling each other's dirt. So there's that. Everyone, please, before you leave the building, like this video. And to all who have not subscribed, please do so. Everyone be blessed. Peace.